Welcome to Marriage Is Podcast. I'm your host, Mackenzie Williams. I have a special guest here. I know I say that every time, but everybody's special to me. Man, this man has been such an inspiration to me. We've been knowing each other for about 8 years now, I think, something like that. He's a husband, he's a father, he's a teacher, he's a lawyer. He's a man of God. He's an inspiration. Welcome to the show, Mr. Gary Lundy. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. I really wanted to get you on because, like I said, you've been an inspiration for me from afar. I never told you.
Well, thank you.
But man, I watch you, and I watch you how you deal with these young people, teaching them about the Bible, the Word of God. But I watch how you treat your wife and your kids. And man, I just got to say thank you for being an example for me. Sure. And so, hey, we just gonna get to it, and we gonna talk about where you're from. We're gonna talk about a lot of things today. Okay. So just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, how was your upbringing? Did you have a 2-parent household? Did you have a husband figure in your life to look up to? Did you have all those things? So just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, I was born in the Panhandle of Florida, in Milton,
Florida.
Way back in the day.
850?
850. Way back in the day. And my dad was in the Air Force at the time, so they had to move. They were in Biloxi, Mississippi at the time, but they had to get out of there because of Hurricane Camille.
Okay.
So they were in Milton. My mom and dad are from Crestview, Florida, so that's where they're from. So they went back there to wait until they could get back after the hurricane. So I was born in Milton, grew up, Dad was stationed in Ohio and New York and some of those places when I was little. And then we moved back to Crestview, and Dad was stationed at Eglin when I was in like the summer between 1st and 2nd grade. So that's where I grew up, was in the Panhandle. My mom and dad were married. So, Christians, grew up. I tell people that I went to church before I was born. Always been in church, and Dad was a deacon. And I remember very vividly, on Mondays he would go visitation, do all those things. And so, I had a good example of a husband and a wife and what a Christian home was supposed to look like. And I think that was very important in my, of what I was going to grow up to be one day, a husband. And, as I got older in that, and as a teenager, it didn't take me long to figure out that, there's some of these girls out there that aren't, what I want for the rest of my life. And so it didn't take me long in college and law school to figure out that, I needed to find somebody that also grew up in a 2-parent family, because that was going to make our, I guess our experience in marriage, at least we come from the same upbringing, and that would make it easier on us if at least that happened. And so, I met my wife on a blind date. Our friends of ours, my 2 best friends were married to her 2 best friends.
Oh, okay.
And so they had asked several times for, we want to set y'all up and all this kind of stuff. And we were both like, I don't know about that, a blind date, all this kind of stuff. And finally, we both at the same time just said, look, if y'all will just stop hounding us about it, then we'll go. So this was like the summer before my last year of law school. And so we met, and by the end of the summer, we were ready to get married. And so we met in May, got married in December. Of the same year of 1993. So I made sure to get my dates right before I came, so that I could at least say that straight. So, it hasn't always been an easy road by any means. We finished out law school. I finished out law school. She worked at Shands here in Gainesville. She was a medical transcriptionist, so she did that while I was in school. Went back to Crestview, and I practiced law for a couple years. Went into the ministry. I was actually a recreation minister at first, and ran our church, built a gym, a lot like they have here at Westside. And so they hired me through a long series of things. That's another whole podcast there about how that happened. But so I worked there a couple years, and then God said, you don't belong here, you belong in youth ministry. And I was like, okay. And I was like, okay, we just bought my grandmother's property and her mobile home and fixed it up. And my mom and dad lived on the same property, just like next door, but it was all at one time my grandfather's piece of property.
That's that country living right
Exactly.
there.
And I was like, okay, God, you've told me that I'm supposed to leave and go into youth ministry. I said, but I'm not just going to be able to sell this house.
Yeah.
So I don't know how I'm supposed to do that. Well, we went on vacation after I think we lived in the mobile home for like a month and a half, maybe 2 months. And then we went on vacation in North Georgia to the mountains, and a hurricane came through and flooded the property.
Whoa.
Like our mobile home was 3-4 feet up off the ground. You know how they set those up? And we had 2 to 3 feet of water in the mobile home.
Oh, wow.
My mom and dad's house, which was next door, flooded. The stuff on the shelf in their closets got wet.
Dang.
So I mean, their bedroom was almost underwater.
Yeah.
And mom didn't want to live there anymore. She was ready to get out. So we were able to sell some guy just showed up one day and said, hey, I'll give you $10,000 for your property.
Yeah.
And we were like still throwing stuff away.
Yeah.
I've telling people all the time, if you want to have a great day, what you need to do is just be taking everything you own and throwing it in a dumpster in the front yard. There's just nothing like that.
Yeah.
It was horrible. So, so we were out of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, God, so now we need a place to go. And we moved in with my mom and dad for that little bit of time. And, we were very grateful to have a place to stay, but it wasn't necessarily the best arrangement for us in our marriage in that point. But found a job in Newberry out here, and I had heard of Newberry before from being in Gainesville at law school. So we moved here, and I was a youth pastor at Jonesville Baptist Church in Newberry. I stayed there for 16 years, and then God said, "You're done with that, and it's time to move on." So started at the Rock, and I started my 11th year there teaching.
Hey, man, that's a journey. I want to go back to something that you said, man. That's really powerful that a lot of people don't get. You said you were raised in a husband, wife, 2-parent household with good examples, and you wanted to marry somebody that was raised the same way as you. I don't think we understand how important that is in this day and time, right? Because you wanted somebody who was raised with the same values, the same experiences, the same love, the same everything that you had, right? And the Bible talks about not being unequally yoked, right? And a lot of people want us to make it about race when we talk about unequally yoked, but the Bible don't talk about race when it says that. It means you should not be a believer in Christ and marry a non-believer.
Correct.
That's what it means when it says unequally yoked. And I think what you were looking for was somebody to be equally yoked with, right? And so I think we don't understand that part of it in today's society. You know what I'm saying? Like people, you couldn't jump in Nancy DMs.
Right.
You had to see her.
No, there wasn't none of that.
Right? You had to see her. And your friend setting you up on a blind date was kind of like, hey, give you that nudge, like, hey, we married. And you had an example from your friends too, right? So you did have examples all around, but I think that's important of wanting to be with somebody who was raised like you. And that's and listen, and that is not a bad thing. No. Because I think today we try to vilify people for wanting what they want.
Right.
And it's like, no, I want what I want.
Right.
They probably would have tried to cancel you if you would have said that.
Oh, sure.
Today.
Well, and the reason was, I think in my mind is, I guess we all have, I call it, our default.
Yeah.
When it is just who we are. And it's what I know, and it's, when I have a bad day, that's what I go to. I go to what I know, I go to how it's always been, who I am. And so I knew that if her default, her natural, where she grew up, where she was going to be the same as mine, then when we had those tough times, we're at least going to approach it in the same way. And so that would seem to me to make life much easier that way, is that at least we see things from that same perspective. Now, obviously, man and woman, all those things, we see things a lot differently. So, we all have those.
Yeah.
But when our default position is we're married, our default position is not that as soon as something hard happens, we're going to hit the road.
Right.
Divorce isn't a part of our life. It's never been a part of our story.
Yeah.
And that's not the first thing we go to. That's not something we think about. We're married, we stay married, our parents are married, they stay, that kind of stuff. Then, we have a chance to make it. Marriage is hard enough, and life is hard enough without, approaching it from two different ways.
Ooh, that's good.
So
That's good stuff right there, man. And I totally agree. Like me and my wife talked, and we were like, hey, I think I'm all for arranged marriages. As long as I know the girls or guys' parents, and I know
and
how
as
they
you have kids, you're even more. You start seeing where it's. Yeah, I could help this out a little bit.
Right. Yeah. So I'm like, hey, arranged marriage for my 4, I'm trying to do it. I'm trying to do it. But so, how long have you and Nancy been married?
We've been married 31 years now. This December will be 32.
Okay.
So it's pretty easy because Emily was born 10 years. Like 2 days after our 10-year anniversary.
Yeah.
So all I got to do is remember how old Emily is, and I can just add 10 years to it. So God helped me out with that a little
funny.
bit.
That's funny because every person that I've had on the pod, that's how they identify. That's how they identify how long they've been married, by how old their kids are. Yeah, so that's funny, man. It's funny how we all think the same and kind of wired the same. But no, man. So are your parents? Are they still with us?
They are.
Are they still married?
They're still married.
How long?
I'm not sure exactly, but I know it's over 50.
Man.
We had their 50-year anniversary, so it's probably like 57, something like that now. Nancy's mom and dad are still alive and still married in over 50 years. So
tell me about that, man. Like, tell me how inspirational that is to you. Like, to see your parents and your wife's parents married for 57 years, like today?
Right. Well, I mean, like I said earlier, I think the thing is that just means that that's the way it's supposed to be. We, when tough times come, our first instinct is not to hit the road, like a lot of people are, and like a lot of kids today when they get married. If it doesn't work out, I'll just
plenty of fish in the sea.
I'll just divorce them, and we'll have another. I'll find another one. It's not a big deal. But no, that's not a part of the conversation. That's never a part of the thought. When things are tough, we're gonna work through this. Now it may not work out well. I don't know, but we're gonna work through it together. And in the end, we're still gonna be together. That's not part of the issue. The issue is not whether we're going to be together. The issue is that, what are we going to have to go through together? That kind of thing. And I think that's the important thing, is to see them, go through what they're going through. Nancy's, dad has dementia right now, and so that's a rough situation for their marriage to go through. But there's never an instance to where they're going to give up on that. Nancy's mom's not. She's not going to give up. She's going to. This is her husband. She's going to serve him and love him and be a wife to him, regardless of where he's at mentally. That doesn't play into the equation. That doesn't matter. That's her husband. And she's going to be there, and she's going to take care of him and do those things, because that's what a wife does.
The devil do his part.
Yeah.
Man. I talk about this all the time, and it's like, man, like the older generation really took those vows to heart.
Sure.
And I believe, and I think in like my generation, I don't know necessarily if I say my generation, I would say the younger generation. I don't know if we really take it to heart. Right. I don't know if we really take to death do us part, sickness and in health, and richer or poorer. Right. I don't know if we really do, and I think we've kind of watered it down by saying, oh, if it don't work out, I can just go get somebody else. Right. But I think if we took it a lot more serious, then we would see a lot more healthy marriages, right? Sure. Because because disagreements and trials and tribulations that go along with being
Sure.
with a
That
healthy
just
marriage.
goes along with being alive.
Yeah, absolutely.
We all have those.
Absolutely. So I think, man, if we could just, you can, the example you set, right? The example that I set for the people that are our age or younger than us that are not married, I think if we set that example for them, they'll be like, oh, maybe it is hope.
Right.
Maybe it is, and that's why God dropped this podcast on me, man. Is because me and my wife went through some tough times.
Sure.
And I cried out to God, man, and I really got a heart for husbands because I know the spiritual warfare behind.
Oh, sure.
Behind it, you know what I'm saying? And the enemy always trying to take the head,
Right.
and then take the body, right? And so that's fighting 101. Take the head, then the body gonna follow.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I think, man, me and my wife working through what we had going on, it made me realize how important marriage is.
Sure.
And I always found it sacred,
Yeah.
but I really found out how important it was when I went through, I like to call it my near-death experience. Because she told me to print them divorce papers out. And when she said that, I'm like, nah, you do that. I ain't doing that, And so, and she laughed when I said it because I really felt like I was about to die.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Because I would have lost it all.
Well, a part of you is.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
And so, man, I really have a heart for husbands, but to see 50-something years and, you going on 32, 33?
32.
32 years. I'll be 12 years next month. And so I'm like, man, like, we need this to get out. We need everybody to see this because I do believe the younger generation want marriage and they want a healthy marriage, but some people just don't know what it looked like.
Right. Well, and I think too, our culture today is such that they're doing their best to destroy marriage because that's what the devil does.
Yeah.
Is he tries to destroy the foundation of things.
Yeah.
And the foundation of our society and our civilization is the family. That's how God set it up to be. And and so that's why it's such a hard thing, especially in today's world. I mean, when I talk about love at school, I preach chapel and talk about, I have to give a definition. But when I grew up, you didn't need a definition.
Right.
We all knew what that meant.
Yeah.
But today, that's not, love isn't the same thing. Today, in today's world, love is as long as you can do something for me or I can get something from you, then I love you.
Yeah.
But as soon as it's tough and I'm not getting anything or I'm not getting from you what I want from you, then I kick you to the curb and I find somebody else.
That's going to do what I want them to do.
Right, that I can get what I need from them.
Yeah.
It's a selfish thing. It's all about me. And I love you as long as I'm getting what I want or I need from you.
Transactional.
Right. And we have to realize that that's not the way God set up the world. That's not the way God set up marriage.
Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to say, so I'm just going to go ahead and say it now, is that, God says in the Bible, Paul told us that husbands are to love their wives like Jesus loved the church. And we automatically think, as husbands, we think, well, that just means I need to die for my wife. And we're gonna do that.
Come on.
I'll die for her, no problem. But I think we miss something that's very important.
Yeah.
That Jesus didn't just die.
Yeah.
Obviously, that was the ultimate thing.
Right.
But he also gave up all of his honor and all of his glory in heaven to come here.
Yeah.
Are you willing to give up all of your honor and your glory for your wife?
Come on.
And I think that's part of it too, is that we have to get to the point, and I'll tear up just because I'm talking about things like that. But it's one of those things where I think that's important.
Yeah.
I have to be willing to give up my entire self for my wife, for my marriage to work.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be times when that's required of me.
Yeah.
And, Nancy and I asked my wife, Nancy, we ask each other, do you know that I love you?
Yeah.
And she always says, I never doubt that.
Yeah.
And I think to myself, that's the way it's supposed to be.
Right.
If she ever doubts that I love her, then I'm not doing my job right. That she should wake up every morning and know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that I love her because I'm her husband.
Yeah.
And if I do that for her, life's going to be much better for me
Yeah.
if I'm not having to prove myself every day, because I've already done that.
Yeah.
And I do that.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a good thing. I have to be willing to give up who I am
Right.
for my wife.
Yeah.
And that's a lot more. And I think that's, some people may think, well, that's, you're dying. That's a pretty big deal. And it is.
Yeah.
But it's the day-to-day thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to be asked to die every day.
Yeah.
But I am going to be asked, am I willing to give up me
Yeah.
for my wife?
Yeah.
So.
Man, that's I don't even know what to say. Because and if I can add to that, right? I know it's not physically dying,
Right. Exactly.
but you just expressed killing your pride,
Right. Exactly.
right? And that's what it talks about, and that's what we mean when we say you have to die to yourself
Right.
for your wife, right?
Exactly.
It's killing your pride,
Right.
man.
And us guys come with a lot of that sometimes.
Ooh, let me tell you. And I'm glad you said it. And you didn't even know this, but at the end of every pod, I read Ephesians 5.
Oh, okay. Very cool.
I read Ephesians 5, right? And so, but for you to bring that up and for you to talk about transactional love, let's talk about that for a minute, because that was me.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody watch or listen to this podcast, they know I'm gonna tell on myself.
Well, sure.
They know I'm gonna do it, right? And so for me, I was loving my wife with conditions.
Sure.
Like you said, you do this for me. If you don't do it, then now I'm mad.
Right.
If you don't have sex with me, now I'm mad. I ain't taking into account that you done worked a full day, came home with the kids, cooked, clean, all that.
And you got other stuff going on. Right, exactly.
Right, and now you just want to go to sleep.
Right.
But for me, I think a lot of this came out, man, when about 5 years ago or 4 years ago, the end of 2020, beginning of 2021, when we was really going through it. And she told me to print the divorce papers out, and she told me, don't even try to stay in this marriage because I'm wasting my time. And she told me all that, but she also sat with me and counseled me. And I asked her, and I said, how can you still love me after everything I just told you I did to you? And she said, this woman said to me, because I have to.
Right.
And I'm like, it blew my mind, because I was loving her with conditions and I didn't know it.
Sure.
Because I had been raised with people who love me with conditions.
Right.
And I'm like, and she revealed it to me. She was like, and I finally asked her, what is love to you? And she told me, and she was like, love is accepting me no matter what, and not putting conditions on it, right? And not saying I'll love you if you do this, and she told me what it really meant to her, and I'm like, dang, I was trying to love you the way I was raised, but that's not real love anyway. Right? That's conditional love.
That's the kind of love we all want.
Yeah,
to be loved regardless of who we are or what we do.
We want the agape love, right? But I was loving her with conditions, and she revealed that to me, but she also revealed a side of God that I didn't even know I needed to see. She revealed the agape love to me, right? Because I was raised with a lot of religious beliefs. I had sound doctrine. Now, don't get me wrong either. I had sound doctrine, but I was raised with some religious beliefs too that I had to get up out of me, and I'm still getting them up out of me, right? But like when I tell you this woman, like she, in the midst of telling me I'm wasting my time, she's like, I still have to love you. And man, she showed me, I'm talking, man, she showed me so much grace. So much love, so much, and she never brought it up again. She never, when she finally forgave me, when she made the decision, to forgive me, and she said, we gonna make this work. And I'm like, okay, cool. I was the one that put the pressure on myself.
For sure.
you know, because I'm like, I gotta be perfect. I gotta
Right.
be perfect.
Right.
And when I fall short, I'm like, I fell off the cliff. Is she gonna divorce me now? You know. But she never brought it up. She never.
Right.
And she told me, she was like, listen, stop thinking that way. You know me.
Right.
I ain't that way.
Right.
And I'm like, you right. That's just me. That's my own insecurities.
Sure.
Right. And as men and husbands, we don't necessarily want to admit that.
No, exactly. We don't want to admit we have insecurity.
Exactly.
We got
don't-
it all together. Everything's good.
Man.
But we all have them.
Yeah, we do. We do. And that pride, like you said, you got to kill that pride, man, because I was probably one of the most prideful people I ever met. But through all that, I have to battle my pride every day.
Sure.
Right? And we all do. But talking about that transactional love,
Yeah.
my wife showed me unconditional love. What it was to love somebody unconditionally. Right. And man, when I tell you that woman, boy, hey, listen, I'll run in front of a train for her. You hear me?
Exactly.
I'm telling you.
And I think that's the thing, is that I think marriage is a picture of what God does for us.
Yeah.
Because we have to love each other the way God loves us for this to work.
Yeah.
I tell, I've had the privilege of being able to perform weddings and get to counsel young couples who are wanting to get married. And one of the things I tell them is while we're sitting here, before you get married, if you've got something in your head that if he does this, I'm out.
Yeah.
Or if she, if there's just one thing, if she does this, then I'm out, then you're done.
Yeah.
You're done for.
Yeah.
If there's something before, as you're going into this, that's the thing we're just gonna get a divorce, then you're done.
Yeah.
You have to go into this believing that it doesn't matter. The one thing that's not gonna happen is we're gonna get a divorce.
Right.
And in our world today, that's rare.
That is rare. And I have a theory behind this, right? Tell me what you think about it. My theory behind this is we emphasize dating so much that we condition ourselves for when we get married. If we get tired of it, if they do something, that's how it makes it easier for us to divorce. Because, when you're dating and you got this girl or this guy and they do something that you don't like, it's like, oh, on to the next. Right. And so now you just recycling, or you throwing them away and going to get another one. You're throwing them away, going to get another one. And then when we get in a marriage, we don't know how to deal with fighting through the storm with just one person.
Exactly.
We used to just throwing them away and going to get another one. What do you think about that?
I think that's true. But I don't know that that's the only reason.
Right.
But I think that's a symptom of the like I said, the underlying problem in our culture is everything is throwaway.
Oh, okay.
I mean, think about it. You're a sports fan.
Yeah.
How many people do you know today who's been a fan of the same team their entire life? Not very many people.
Yeah.
Most people today are bandwagon fans.
Yeah.
As long as you're winning, I'm your fan.
Hey, that's my son, man. My 4-year-old.
There you go.
He
See?
asks me every time we see something on TV, who wins?
Exactly. That's who he roots for. But that's our society.
Yeah.
We have disposable everything.
Yeah,
Your
that's right.
refrigerator downstairs is huge, but if it breaks, most people wheel it out to the curb and just buy a new one.
Yeah.
That's our world we live in.
Don't try to
Everything's disposable. We don't fix anything.
Ooh, come on.
We just throw it away and get a new one. And dating, that's why it is, I think, because that's what our society has bred us to believe, is that this person is disposable, just like the refrigerator, just like my sports team, just like all that stuff. And when you go into a relationship like marriage, that you can't do that.
Yeah.
There's nobody who's been married that hasn't had a bad day.
Right.
There's nobody who's been married who hasn't had to deal with something that's tough, that everybody else in the world would understand that you got a divorce.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah.
But it's those marriages that last 50 years, 30 years, 20 years. I tell people, if you can make it 5 years, you're good. You're golden. Because it's just, our world is so disposable today.
Oh, that's good stuff. That's good, because you're right. Me and my wife actually watched this comedian, and he talks about marriage, and the title of it is Marriage is Major Surgery.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how his grandma called him, 94-year-old grandma called him and was like, hey, my washer broke. I need you to come fix it.
Right.
And he said he immediately went to the appliance store.
Sure.
And he called his grandma and said, "Hey, what color is your washing machine?" She said, "Brown."
Brown. Uh-oh.
And he was like, I don't see no brown washing machine.
Brown ones, exactly.
And he said, "Well, how long have you had it, Grandma?" And she said, "I had it since 1970.
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, what do you do when it breaks?" And she said, "Your papa always fixed it.
Right. It can be fixed.
And it always worked."
Right.
And she said, "Well, why you at the appliance store and not coming to fix it?" Right. So that tells like a tale of what you just said, right? Man, they would fix it.
Yeah.
And we have to realize in marriage, stuff gonna get broke.
Sure. You're broke when you come in.
Come on
you
now.
just don't realize it.
Yeah.
And so there's got to be some fixing going on because we're all broken in some way.
Yeah.
Even though, my mom and dad were married and I grew up in a home with both parents, they didn't do everything right.
Right.
And so I've got to figure out, and Nancy and I have to figure out, how's our marriage going to be? Mm-hmm. Just because it worked for my mom and dad and it worked for her mom and dad, it's us.
Yeah.
They're not here to do it for us. How are we going to do this stuff? And we both come in with issues and with brokenness, and we've got to give God a chance to fix that in us.
Yeah.
And then, another thing I tell young couples is, look, when you get married, it's not you against her. Mm-hmm. It's now us. Mm-hmm. We're on the same team. Mm. And so when hard times come, we have to look at it as, how are we going to get through this?
Yeah.
Not, how am I going to get through this?
Right.
How am I going to come through this better off than her?
Yeah.
No, it's now us. We have to work our way through this.
Yeah.
We're on a team. Mm-hmm. And we communicate that way. It's not, I'm trying to win.
Yeah.
It's, we are trying to win. Mm-hmm. So what can we do to make this better? What can we do to fix the things that are broken in us?
Yeah.
Because that's what's going to make us better. Mm-hmm. And it's, and that's what we have to do.
Yeah. That's good. That's good counsel, because when we were getting premarital counseling, my pastor back home, he always told us, don't fight to be right, fight to reconcile.
Exactly.
And that always stuck with me.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I fought to be right.
Oh, sure. And that's our natural inclination, right? I mean, we play ball, we fight to win.
Yeah.
We're not out here, even though we're supposed to be, we ain't out here to have fun.
Right.
Losing ain't fun.
It ain't, man.
But, so we're out here to win.
Yeah.
And you got to, especially guys, you got to back off some of that a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not all about winning.
And you got to realize.
You have all these memes now about the guy winning the argument with his wife and he's sleeping in the driveway. That kind of thing. That's the thing. You win, but what did you really win?
Yeah, what did you really win? Like,
woohoo, good job.
And we have to realize, though, that we're fighting to win, but we have to fight with our wives to win.
Exactly.
Not against them to win.
She's not against us. She's not the enemy.
Yeah.
She's with us. And we're together in this.
Yeah. So how did you and Nancy, did y'all talk about the way y'all wanted y'all marriage to go, or did you just kind of organically just kind of morph into it?
I don't know that we ever really sat down together and spelled out what we wanted it to be like. Mm-hmm. We probably wished that we had been more intentional about things like that.
Okay.
But it was a lot more organic. It's funny because, like, you talk about your premarital counseling. Well, our premarital counseling, we went into the pastor's office and he looked at us and he said, both of you grew up in church, so y'all know what to do. So no problem. That was our
Oh, wow.
That was our premarital counseling. That was it. We were done.
Yeah.
And I was like, we looked at each other like, okay, I guess we know everything we need to know.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Sort of like, when you go to the hospital and have a baby and they just send you home.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait a second. I didn't get that manual that's supposed to come with that kid.
Yeah.
We didn't get one with our marriage either. And so we kind of, I don't know that we really ever sat down and went through what we want necessarily like that in, a formal sit down kind of thing. As we went along, we would talk about things.
Yeah. So how do y'all deal with conflict? Like, do you like meet it head on? Because I know with me, early on, I would go all around conflict.
Sure.
You know, I would just kind of brush it off. And my wife ain't that person.
Right.
She wanted me to head on, and she's taught me how to do that. But like when y'all have conflict, how does that look when you resolve it?
Excuse me. Like you say, I think at first I'm one of those people who likes to avoid conflict, you know, at all costs, really. So we would just kind of go our separate ways and then move on. Now we understand that, and like I said, I don't know that we've ever really talked about this necessarily, but we know we've got to talk about it,
Right.
and work through those things, and so we do, and kind of we understand that our first inclination, our first reaction to conflict is she's the same way. She's going to avoid at the beginning. I'm going to avoid, but then we both understand. Okay, well, we can't just avoid it forever.
Right.
We're going to have to talk about this, and I've told her sometimes, look, we can't talk about this right now.
Right.
I'm too upset about it. We need to give it a little bit of time. That kind of stuff, and so that's kind of how we've done it like that. Basically more on a case by case, I guess, basis, as opposed to sit down, figure out, okay, how are we going to do this in the future, kind of thing.
Yeah. No, that's good, because that alone is knowing your wife, right? Knowing your spouse, by saying, hey, let's give it a little time so I can calm down.
Yeah.
So we can talk about it and so we can work on it together,
Right.
as opposed to trying to go right in while you still steaming, and why and you don't want to say anything rash, or you don't want to say anything.
Well,
that
like you said, the point of it is we want to get it fixed. It's not to hash out everything, and like you say, for me to show why I'm in the right and you're in the wrong.
Right.
We want to solve the problem, and so in the heat of battle, sometimes you're not going to solve a lot.
Yeah.
We're going to say things we don't really want to say, and it's the best thing to do to cool off a little bit, and then let's figure out what we're going to do and how we can fix this kind of thing. What is really the problem here? Because Nancy and I are both those people, is we kind of like hold everything in until we've had enough, and then we blow up.
Yeah.
So usually what the blow up is not the actual issue. The actual issue was a while back.
Right.
And we gotta, when we're blowing up, it's not the time to try to fix what we're blowing up about, because that's not really the deal. It's something, that we blew past, a couple weeks ago.
Right.
And so we need to sit down and talk about all those things, when we're all calm. And so, like you say, as you get older, you understand and you realize, okay, maybe this isn't the best time for us to try to talk through this. I'll listen and we can talk.
Yeah.
But we're not going to fix anything now.
Yeah.
I'll listen to everything Nancy has to say right at this moment, but I know we're going to have to revisit this later, because we're not going to fix it now.
Right.
We just have to, we'll have to do that later.
Yeah. And that's a part of growing with each other, right? Because what I find is that I have to learn my wife often.
Sure.
You got to relearn each other often. We got together when we were 15. I'm 36.
Right.
And so, she told me one time, she was like, I'm not the 15-year-old girl that you met.
Right.
So these things don't fly no more.
Right. Oh, sure.
So I had to learn that, man, it's okay. We evolve and we grow, and we just have to relearn our spouses.
Sure.
But that comes with being intentional on spending time with them.
Oh, exactly.
And I think we don't. A lot of times we as husbands, let me say me. I ain't gonna say we as husbands. I'm gonna say me. I don't do enough intentional work to make that happen.
Sure.
So I can be better at that.
Yeah.
I can be better at that. And we can make excuses. I can make excuses all I want. I got four young ones in elementary, blah, blah, blah. Right. At the end of the day, I have to make time for me and my wife to spend time together.
Sure.
And just talk, and just work on us.
Well, I mean, the thing is it's really easy to let life happen. We've been married 30 plus years, and we still go through periods of time to where, Nancy will come and she'll go, look, it just feels more like we're roommates than we're married, than we're husband and wife. And that's when I have to stop and we have, like you say, we need to go have dinner together, just
Yeah.
us, and spend some time talking. It doesn't have to necessarily be some deep,
Yeah.
discussion about things, but we just need to spend some time together.
Yeah.
And, remember what it's like to be husband and wife and not just existing in the same household,
Right.
because that's easy to do.
That is.
And, you hear people all the time talk about, I know you've heard it, is that, date once a week, get away, once a year, whatever those things are. And that's great, and it sounds great, but it doesn't necessarily happen all the time,
Yeah,
right?
it don't. It don't.
Life happens,
Yeah.
and we're running around busy and doing and all this kind of stuff. And she's working at church, so there's periods of time in ministry to where you have to be there and do those things. I'm a school teacher, so there's periods of time to where it's all about school and just surviving and making it to the next day.
Oh, yeah.
All those things. And, and so those things happen. But then when that period of time is over, like you say, we have to say, hey, you and I, we need to go, have dinner tonight.
Yeah.
And we need to, spend some time on us instead of just continuing to just let life happen.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And you have to have that compass to know.
Sure.
And that's hard.
It is.
That's hard to just stop and think, hey, when was the last time we went on a date?
Right.
When was the last time we did this?
And that's
together?
where Nancy's good at that. She'll say, hey, we need to work on us a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I've learned that that's when I should do that. I should listen, and do that.
Yeah.
Because it's, if she's feeling that way, then whether I feel that way or not, necessarily, then we need to work on each other. Because if that's the way she's feeling, then that's the way it is.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
And so, she's a part of this relationship too. It's not just me. And so we need to work on it.
Yeah.
And so it's good.
Yeah, no, that's good. So your daughter is newly married.
She is.
Well, going on 2 years?
Yep.
Okay, she's new. How is that as a father, but also seeing like their dynamic? How is that?
So, you look, all this is going on, and you assume as a dad that, she's going to go to college, and we'll deal with college. Then we'll deal with job. We have time to deal with all this stuff. And then all of a sudden in the middle of college, 21 years old, we're going to get married.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's not exactly the way I thought this was going to go. But, and people ask, like, when they first got married, well, was it weird having some guy in your daughter's bedroom? I was like, yeah, that was kind of odd. Because, like, now he has a license, and I can't really do anything or say anything, because he belongs, that kind of stuff. But it is neat to see, because his parents are married and have been married for a long time, Christian parents, good parents. And so when that whole process was going on, when they decided they were going to date and, all that kind of stuff, I'm like, okay, so they're in a good place as far as, understanding what marriage is, understanding, just like I did growing up, that my parents are married, they have a good default position,
Right.
And so, it's good to for them, and it's interesting to watch, as they progress through things, because, they have to figure it out for themselves.
Right.
And I can't just tell them and fix it, even though there's some days I would, look, here's what y'all need to do. But no, it's much better for them to figure it out. They live in Lakeland, so they're not up here, and I think that's good for them.
Yeah.
When I counsel couples, one of the things I tell them is the best thing you can do is move.
Yeah.
And they're all like, what? And all their parents are mad at me for telling them.
Well, it's in the word.
And I'm like, look, you need to have to deal with each other.
And depend on each other.
Right. When the tough times come, you can't just run to mom. You the only place for you to sleep is at your house with them.
Yeah.
And and that's good.
Yeah, that's
You
a
have
good
to
thing.
deal with it. And so them being there is it's good. And it's one of those things where it's cool to watch.
Yeah.
They're in a good place. God's blessing them.
Yeah.
Emily has a great job that she loves, and the people at her job obviously love her, and that's going well. Devin, her husband, has a job that he loves, and that seems to be going well. So God's blessing them where they're at,
Right.
and so it's good.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good, man. Because, I think having the dynamic of you and Nancy, and then his parents.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did y'all know his parents before they got married?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
they go to church at the Rock,
Oh, okay,
and so
okay.
we knew them from the Rock, and so they've been at the Rock a long time. Like Pastor George married them,
Oh,
performed
okay.
their ceremony.
Okay.
And so Emily and Devin were the first kids of people he had
yeah,
married
that's
that
cool.
he performed their ceremony.
Yeah.
So it's really cool for that. So, that's what I'm saying. So they come from a good family. Everything we heard about, Devin when they were starting to date and all that kind of stuff was all good things. He comes from a good family. He's a
Yeah.
good kid, all that kind of stuff. You may have even met him and been around him because he worked at the coffee shop there at school for
Okay.
a while
Okay,
when
yeah.
it was still, the church was still there and the mission was still there. He worked as, there at the coffee shop and stuff. So, I had kind of been around him a little bit then. So, I didn't know his parents very well. I knew who they were,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. But, I knew, and everybody that we knew and respected them
Yeah.
and thought highly of them. So that made it a lot easier, obviously,
Right.
when your daughter has made a good choice.
Right, yeah.
That makes it much easier.
Well, and on top of that, you set a good example,
Sure.
And so I think a lot of times we don't think about that, or we do maybe,
Right.
but I think about that all the time about my kids. I'm like, hey, I need to make sure my boys know what a husband looks like, what a man of God
Exactly.
looks like.
Sure.
And my daughter needs to know what a husband looks
Right.
like and what a man of God looks like, because now she won't accept just any old dude
Exactly.
coming in and trying to impress her. And she's like, nah, my daddy did all that.
Yeah.
And so we
Exactly.
looking at your character. We don't care about what you can do,
Right.
what you can give,
Or how good you look.
or how good
that
you
kind of
look.
stuff.
We
Especially for
looking
your
at-
boys.
Right, exactly.
That's a big thing for guys.
Exactly, exactly. So it's like, no, what is your character like?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you love God? Do you love people? Do all those type of qualities that you look for? I tell my boys all the time, hey, find your wife like your mama.
Yeah, exactly.
Find your wife like your mama, because my wife loves people, and she'll give the shirt off of her back to somebody. And so I always tell my boys that.
Well, and that's what you want.
Mm-hmm.
You want your wife to be somebody that your son, if he marries somebody like that, is going to be good.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's, like you say, as a dad, that's what you want.
Absolutely.
You want to be the guy
Yeah.
that if my daughter finds somebody like me, that she's going to be good.
Right. And dads, ask yourself that.
That's what I mean.
Ask yourself, am I a person who I want my daughter to be?
Exactly.
If my daughter found someone like me, would I be okay with them marrying
Right.
that person? And the
And would
answer
my
is
daughter
no.
be okay?
Yeah, right.
Who cares if I'm okay with it?
Yeah.
But would she be all right?
Right,
Is that the
exactly.
life I want her to lead?
Yeah, that's good.
Is
That's good.
that how I want her to be treated? Is
Yeah.
that how I want her to live?
that's good.
Is that the husband I want her to have?
Hey, if the answer
Yeah.
is no, change your ways.
Then you need to do something different.
Exactly. You need to change your ways. Now I have a segment on here.
Oh, here we go.
I have a segment on here that I want you to fill in the blank.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna say this phrase, and I just want you to fill in the blank, and we'll talk about it.
Okay.
All right. Marriage is what?
The first thing that comes to mind is I
Okay.
would say the ultimate team sport.
Ooh, come on.
That would be what just
Okay.
comes to mind first.
Elaborate on that for me.
Because, we met each other through, you coaching basketball and me
Yeah.
being a part of running the scoreboard, that kind of stuff. So
Right.
I know you're a sports guy, I'm a sports guy. And, so we played team sports and we understand that in the dynamic of those things and trying to coach kids to be team players,
Yeah.
that you have to give up some of yourself and some of what you want to accomplish
Yeah.
for the betterment of the team.
Right.
And I think that's marriage, that we as individuals have to give up some of what we want for the good of each other
Yeah.
and for the good of our marriage.
Yeah.
And to remember, like we've already talked about, that it's our good that we work for now, not my good. It's not whether I score 20 points in a game, it's whether we are successful.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. And that's how I see marriage, is
Yeah.
that it is a team thing. And I have to approach it that way, that we're in this together.
Yeah.
And that we approach life together, we approach raising our kids together, we approach, life together.
Right.
And when life throws bad things at us, then we deal with it together.
Yeah.
And, so.
No, that's good. I never looked at it that way.
Really?
I've never looked at it.
I figured you had seen this one easily.
Yeah, no, and I've never heard anybody describe it like that. Yeah. Right? Because we all have our different views, right,
exactly.
of what marriage is, and I think we all come to the same conclusion,
right.
but just in a different route maybe. But no, to describe it as the ultimate team sport, that's absolutely perfect. Perfect, because you're right. Some days you might have to be the point guard to distribute.
Exactly.
And let your wife do her thing.
That's right.
And then other days you might have to be Kobe or MJ,
right.
and you got to
get
it
all about you, and you got to do it. Right.
Yeah, so no, that's good, man. It's all for the betterment of the team.
Right. And I've lived long enough to where there's times in my life to where it's all about her.
Yeah.
And then there's times when she's had to kind of take a back seat because it's about me at this time. And that's okay. I have to be okay when it's about her.
Yeah.
And that is, I'm not the center of attention, and I'm not the one that we're getting up in the morning for.
Yeah.
It's for her now.
Yeah.
And people see us, and they're more excited to see her than they are to see me.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. That kind of stuff. And that, like you say, that's the team thing. There's going to be times when she has to perform. She has to be the one to do what needs to be done, and I have to be okay with letting her do that, and all that good stuff, and vice versa.
Yeah. No, that's a bar. That's what we, that's a bar right there, because man, just thinking about it, right? Like that is the perfect way to describe what marriage is.
Yeah.
The perfect way to describe what marriage is. Now, if you had the chance to give year one Gary in marriage,
Oh no.
advice, what would you say to him?
That was a long time ago. And I was a knucklehead,
Yeah.
Back then. So, because we all are, obviously. I don't know. I really don't know what I would say, except that it's all going to be worth it. That you think it's good now, but the truth is that you aren't even scratching the surface of how good it's really gonna be.
Yeah.
And in marriage we all go in, I always describe it as, you got the butterflies, you're excited, you're in love. What we talk about is love.
Right.
And eventually that wears off, and then you think, But then when you realize that was not really love to begin with, it's infatuation, it's lust, whatever you want to call it. That was what it was. It's emotion.
Yeah.
Now the day to day, how are we going to live with each other? That's love. Is that when you aren't what I want you to be, I'm still going to be here and I'm still going to love you.
Yeah.
And I know that when I'm not what you want me to be, you're still going to be there for me. That's love.
Yeah.
And so, as good as you think it is, it's just going to get better.
Yeah.
Our marriage is better today than it's ever been. And, I don't know that we could always say that, kind of thing. But, so I guess that would be it. Just stick with it, and all the things we've talked about.
Yeah.
I need to love her. I need to make sure she knows that I love her, and that there's no one else in the world more important than her.
Yeah.
Those kind of things.
No, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. Now, I always end with Ephesians 5, but because we already talked about Ephesians 5, I'm going to go to 1 Corinthians.
Okay, do it.
I'm going to go to 1 Corinthians. And everybody who watched the pod or listened to it, you already know this is my Tree of Life Bible. Probably my favorite birthday gift I ever received.
Very nice.
Was my Tree of Life Bible. And we're going to go to 1 Corinthians because Gary stole my outro.
Sorry, I had no idea.
Hey, no, but that's the word though, right? That's the word it is. So I want to go to 1 Corinthians, and we're going to go to 1 Corinthians 13. And everybody, everybody quotes it.
Sure.
But let's just talk about it. And in my Bible, the subtitle is The Superior Way of Love.
Okay.
Right? And 1 Corinthians 13:1. And it says, if I speak with tongues of men and angels, but have not love, I have become a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and know all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. If I give away all that I own, and if I hand over my body so I might boast, but have not love, I gain nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love does not envy. It does not brag. It is not puffed up. It does not behave inappropriately. It does not seek its own way. It is not provoked. It keeps no account of wrongdoing.
That's a hard one.
Whoo, man. Listen. Verse 6 says it does not rejoice over injustice, but rejoices in truth.
Yep.
Verse 7, it bears all things. It believes all things. It hopes all things. It endures all things.
Yep.
Love never fails, but where there are prophecies, they will pass away. Where there are tongues, they will cease. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. That means we know part of everything that's going on. We don't know the whole.
We don't know the whole story.
We don't know the whole. But that which is perfect has come. Then that which is partial will pass away. So when Jesus come back, then all that partiality
we'll know everything.
We'll know everything. Verse 11, when I was a child, I spoke as a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things.
Yep.
For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I will know fully, even as I have been fully known. Verse 13, the last verse. But now these three remain: faith, hope, and love.
Yep.
And the greatest of these is love.
Yep.
Man, everything we just talked about.
Yep. There's a whole different definition of love than what our world sees love
different
as.
definition
Yep.
of love. It's not puffed up.
Yep.
It does not boast.
It's not about you.
It's not about you, but it's about the other.
Right.
And man, though I keep those two on deck, man, because I need them.
Good stuff. Yeah, I know. I have to remind myself. You're right.
I need them.
Yeah.
But man, Gary, I appreciate you for sitting down on the pod.
Well, I appreciate you for having me.
Dropping some wisdom on us, man. Like this, listen, this blessed me. If it don't bless nobody else.
Well, I appreciate that.
It blessed me, man. I just want to say I appreciate the husband that you are, the example that you set for us all, and just for being you, man. So we appreciate it. We appreciate it.
Well, again, thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, no problem, man. No problem at all. Hey, we appreciate you for joining in.
Yep.
Marriage is Podcast. Until next time, I'll see you. All right. Good. Man, that's